sit down to create something and you feel absolutely nothing? There's no spark of inspiration, there's no idea or thought for the wire and stones that you have in front of you. Well, the truth is, we all go through that. I go through this many times during a month. And you might be wondering how somebody like me who creates content on a weekly basis is able to overcome those. Well, today I'm going to be sharing my favorite ways to overcome those creative slumps. But before we jump into the video, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Now, there are 9 different ways that you can overcome some of these creative slumps, or at least some that I have noted in my life. And I really encourage you to stay till the end because I have some additional resources that I think will help you overcome some of those slumps. So let's go ahead and jump into our first one, which is practicing new techniques. So if you're feeling like you're in a creative slump and you don't know where to go, it can be worth the effort to look for new weave patterns, new stone settings, new wire wrapping techniques that you can incorporate into your pieces. Having those challenges is a really good way to kind of wake up your mind and bring some inspiration. It'll challenge you to think in ways you haven't before, and it can really help grow and establish more of your own unique style as well. And sometimes even those mistakes that you make while learning a new technique can actually be really helpful in inspiring you in different ways. The second tip that I have for you is to try new tutorials. So this kind of is wrapped with step 1 in that you may be trying some different techniques and patterns and things. But the nice thing about written tutorials or even video tutorials is that you do not have to be original. You don't have to stress yourself out about trying to create your own design. You can just follow somebody else's instructions. It'll make you feel good because you've created something new, but also it'll help inspire you to create designs that are maybe even unique in your own in the future. And oftentimes what it'll do is it'll spark in your mind, like, what if I did this instead? Like, I like the way the artist did this, but what if I added this instead? So like, let's say they did a spring setting, but you did a prong setting instead, or a basket setting. Maybe they did a certain channel weave or a certain weave pattern. You're like, I think this would look different and even better. Having those thoughts is a really good way to get that creativity flowing through your mind again and help to inspire you to create new and different pieces. The third tip I have is looking back at your past work. So if you're like me and you like to share your pieces on social media, you probably have a record, like a library of photos that you can look back at and see your old pieces. Maybe you have a sketchbook also. I have one that I occasionally go through because I'll have a brilliant idea in a moment, sketch it down, and then completely forget about it until I come back to it. And then maybe I'll be in the mindset to actually create it or even tweak it to make it something completely different. And as you're looking at your pieces, just notice like different patterns and themes maybe you have that you'd like to revisit. Maybe there's a certain theme, like I might look back at last year fall this time and see some of my pieces that I made and go, oh yeah, I really want to make those again. Or I want to make something like it, but use more techniques or different techniques that I used last year. The fourth tip I have is shopping your own stash. And what I mean by that is just going through some of the materials and wire and stones that you already have. Sometimes for me, just looking at a certain stone will spark some kind of inspiration. Maybe this one reminds me of a reptile, and so I'll make something reptilian. Maybe this one reminds me more of something more elegant and floral, and I'll do something along those lines. Maybe you have beads and you just want to make chains for a while. That can also be really helpful just to help your brain reset and to dive into some kind of creativity that is outside of just creating something new. Could also be looking at some of your tools. Like if you're like me and you've been exploring, for example, cold forging or like hammering your wire, sometimes grabbing some of those tools that you haven't used in a while might spark some ideas as well. Like, hey, I haven't added this kind of element to my pieces for a while. I'm going to hammer out some different textures and see how that adds something to my pieces. My fifth tip, if I can count, my fifth tip is to look at nature. I really like to look at, of course, at flowers and leaves and vines and things of that nature because there's something really organic and beautiful about nature, and it can inspire all kinds of things. I mean, even just looking at the different shapes of the different leaves that are out there or the different petals on a flower can really spark some kind of inspiration in creating new pieces. And of course, a breath of fresh air is always a good idea. It's really good to get that sunshine, your vitamin D, so I highly recommend taking those nature walks and just really soaking it in. It's also going to give you an idea of texture and patterns too. So There might be something that you notice in how the waves of grass move, or maybe the swirling of water in a river. There's all kinds of ideas that you can glean just from the world around you. Now, my sixth step, or my sixth tip, is to collaborate and share with others. So looking at other people's artistry can really inspire you, or even just talking to other artists and saying, is there something missing? Maybe you put up a piece and you're like, maybe I have a gap in here. What can I put in here to fill in this space? It's amazing the ideas that people have online, or even in your creative circle if you are lucky enough to have one nearby. There's all kinds of ideas that you can get from other people because they think differently than you do. And so you can take advantage of that and ask questions and get feedback, so that way you can create pieces using ideas that you've gleaned from other people. And not only that, it's just really nice to have that encouragement, that to know that you are not the only one that struggles with this. And not only that, you might be helping somebody else in creating their own designs. Number 7 is to change your environment. I did do 7, right? The first thing I would recommend is cleaning or reorganizing your space. In my case, I really need to go through this beautiful shelf over here, or this cabinet. It's full of beads and stones and things that I've been hiding in here, and there's probably something in there that could spark some new creativity. I also have some of my old pieces stored in here as well. It could be even just as simple as reorganizing your desk, creating a special spot for your tools and your stones. It could be just moving to a different spot entirely. So if you have more spaces in your house or your home that you can work at, sometimes that helps inspire some new creativity. Maybe even going outside. I see a lot of creators now that are going outside, sitting in park benches and doing their work. So just moving to a new space can really revive and inspire your creative mind. The 8th tip that I have is creative cross training, which is basically doing a different craft. So if you're like me and you've experimented with different crafts, like for example, I like to do polymer clay every now and then. I really enjoy making the flowers with them. I also do knitting and crochet here on occasion. Just by moving to a different craft for a while can really inspire you in your wire weaving as well. So there might be aspects of a different craft that would pique your curiosity about, well, what if I did this with wire? I do it with thread and with yarn, but what if I did it with wire? So there's a lot of ideas that can come just from working on different crafts. Plus, it's really good at resetting your mind, so you're not so stressed out about wire weaving or wire wrapping, and it can really reignite your creativity on the wire weaving side just by simply moving to a different craft. Now, my 9th tip is actually probably not one you might think of. Maybe you have done this before. Let me know in the comments if you have. But that's just giving yourself a challenge, playfully challenging yourself to do something. So in this case, if you remember my bracelet that I had showed on social media, that was actually a challenge for myself. I was really in a creative slump. I had no ideas whatsoever. And so I gave myself a challenge. A beautiful friend of mine had given me some cuff blanks. And I wondered if I could actually attach a stone without needing to do any soldering or anything of that nature. And so I challenged myself to do it. I didn't give myself a time limit or anything, but just the challenge of, can I attach this stone using wire weaving to a blank bracelet cuff without having to use solder? And simply by doing that, I was inspired in all kinds of ways to create new pieces. But there's all kinds of ways that you can challenge yourself. You can do it just by grabbing your bucket of scrap wire and challenging yourself to make something only out of scrap wire. Or you can even set a timer for yourself. Can I make a certain pendant in 30 minutes or an hour? Sometimes restricting yourself a little bit will help your brain to be creative because it's being challenged. Now, if you're overly stressed out about it, maybe not the best way to do it. Maybe do the reorganizing, going outside, collaborating with others. But if you're just kind of feeling in a rut, you're not stressed out, you just need ideas, sometimes giving yourself a challenge can really wake up your mind. So as you can see, creative slumps are completely normal, but there are ways to get out of them and ways to de-stress and reset. And of course, if you are looking for some challenges or you're looking for some inspiration, of course you can visit any of the videos that I have on my channel. I have tons of free tutorials for you. I also have a free wire weaving guide, which I give to beginners. So if you're just starting out and you're looking for some creativity, you can definitely start there. You're also welcome to check out my Artisan Tutorial Vault, which gives you access to every single one of my written tutorials, as well as any upcoming tutorials. It's only $10 a month, and you have a whole month of just looking at different tutorials and challenging yourself with new techniques. And I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it was helpful to you. If you have your own tips that you would like to share, please leave them in the comments. Let's go ahead and encourage one another to get out of our creative slumps. And until next time, happy weaving.